Sorry this one's a bit late, a winter storm messed up my schedule, but here it is, the answers to questions left by $5 patrons in the month of November. Hector Defendi asked a question I'd answered before, but I did want to mention that in the resulting discussion he did give his gun recommendations. I suggest starting with a 22 LR, something, as far as pistol, a Ruger MK2 or 3, as for rifle, a Ruger 1022, and get some training. So, Josh Havens asks, I've been told by some people that the free market does not provide cures for certain diseases because it is more profitable for people to remain sick and dependent on drugs than it is to cure them. Have you heard this line of reasoning before? How would you respond? Simple. These people are idiots. What do you think antibiotics are? What do you think vaccines are? Ironically, we hear this a lot from the anti-vax crowd. I think they don't want to admit that vaccines work because then they'd have to give up the idea that doctors and pharmaceutical companies are all about keeping people sick so they can make money treating the symptoms and not curing or preventing disease in the first place. We also hear this a lot from the alt-med naturopathic and homeopathic quacks, which is hilarious because their so-called medicine is pretty much all placebo. In fact, homeopathic pills are about as perfect a placebo as you can get. So yeah, we can cure pneumonia, scarlet fever, appendicitis, ectopic pregnancies, and prevent even more, and also give far superior nutritional and lifestyle choices to the point where the average American lifespan increased from 48 years to 78 years in just a century. But we don't cure disease. Right. So they might tell you that dichloroacetate, or DCA, is a cure for cancer that no one knows about because Big Pharma can't patent it. I'm linking to a Snopes article about it, but basically DCA has been studied and it has not lived up to its earlier promise as a cancer treatment. That happens a lot. You find a compound that seems to be promising in preliminary studies that ends up being not so hot when more rigorous testing is done. When someone talks about something being this amazing cancer cure because it can kill cancerous cells in a petri dish, keep in mind, so would a flamethrower. The scientist who finds a cure for cancer or some other disease would be a shoo-in for the Nobel Prize. And there'd be no way anyone could suppress it. The pharmaceutical company that finds the cure would have all the prestige it could want and could write its ticket anywhere. It would be praised throughout the world and its name synonymous with groups like the Red Cross. Some people claim that they'd collude together to keep the cure from the public, but this is nonsense. What the shrewd businessman would do in that scenario is pretend to collude so he could release it himself and get 100% of the credit. And since they'd all be worried about other businessmen doing that, they'd want to beat them to the punch. It wouldn't last long. Also, think about how many people in the company would need to know that this cure was found. We've covered before how it's near impossible to keep a conspiracy going if you have to rely on the silence of more than a couple dozen people. Watergate was only known to a handful of people, and there was still a whistleblower. Something else to keep in mind. Scientific advances come incrementally, and they come based on understanding shared by the scientific community at large. If something like this were going on, a huge community of scientists would be aware of it. And even if a pharmaceutical company decided not to pursue it, it wouldn't be long at all before someone else did. And like I said earlier, every other pharmaceutical company will want to do it first for that very reason. And by the way, pharmaceutical execs have loved ones too. Those loved ones get cancer and other diseases. You really think they'd put all their own personal profits over stopping the suffering of people they love? You'd have to be the worst of all narcissistic sociopaths to think that about people. Basically, hiding a cure would mean losing revenue. Not only what you could make selling the cure and in prestige and recognition and everything else, but also in the chance that your competition will beat you to the punch. Okay, that's it for November. Sorry again this took so long, but if you become a patron at the $5 level, you can ask me whatever you want in the month of December. Until then, thanks for watching, thanks to everyone who donated, and as always, stay strong and be free.